Her hotel receipts during her business trip proved she was cheating online and in person, despite her claim it was all work. I laid the papers out on the kitchen table like evidence in some crappy courtroom drama and just watched her face as she walked in. Her keys hit the bowl by the door. She kicked off her heels, and then she saw them. 3 neatly folded receipts with the hotel logo right at the top, in color, because apparently she'd printed them at work. Her smile died so fast it was almost funny if it hadn't been my life falling apart. She froze in the doorway, handbag half off her shoulder, eyes flicking from the receipts to me. I could feel my heart pounding in my throat, my hands buzzing like they didn't belong to me. "What is this?" I asked, even though obviously I knew exactly what it was. My voice sounded calm and flat, and completely unlike the way my chest felt, like someone had lodged a fist under my ribs and refused to let go. She didn't move at first. Then she slowly walked over, fingertips barely touching the top receipt like it might burn her. "Where did you get these?" she asked. Not, "What are these?" Not, "Why do you have this?" But where did you get them? Like the problem was how I found out, not what they showed. "You left your work folder in the car," I said. "It fell open. I thought it was something I needed to drop off." Imagine my surprise when I found out your business trip involved a king suite and room service for 2. Her jaw clenched. She tried to swallow, but her voice came out cracked anyway. It's not what it looks like." I laughed, short and ugly. "You people really should stop saying that. It's always exactly what it looks like." It was a Wednesday night when this all blew up. We'd been together for 5 years and living together for almost 3. The kind of relationship where you know which board in the hallway creaks under their step, where you can tell if they're tired just by how they drop their bag. I'm 32, she's 30. We had a shared Spotify account, a shared grocery list, a half-dead houseplant we kept insisting wasn't that bad yet. She works in sales for a software company, and business trips have always been part of the deal. At first it was a novelty. She'd send me photos from hotel rooms and airport bars, complain about dry conference sandwiches, bring me back tiny hotel shampoo bottles that smelled way nicer than anything we could afford. I trusted her completely. If anything, I was proud. My girlfriend was the one racking up frequent flyer miles and giving presentations in glass conference rooms. Things started to feel off maybe 6 months before the receipts. I couldn't have pointed to one moment, but it was like the air around us changed. Little stuff. Her phone was suddenly attached to her hand, screen always flipping down when I walked into a room. She started spending more time catching up on emails at night, laptop open while we watched TV, fingers flying over the keys when she thought I wasn't paying attention. When I'd ask, "Everything okay?" she'd sigh and say, "Yeah, just work is insane right now." The big red flag I ignored was the first business trip to Brisbane that came with no real details. Usually she'd talk my ear off about who was going, what the client was like, how long she'd be gone. This time it was just, "Hey, I've got to fly up Monday, back Thursday. Big client." "What company?" She paused, then shrugged. "You wouldn't know them." I remember that moment now and feel stupid for not pushing harder, but back then I just kissed her forehead and said, "Bring me a fridge magnet." During that Brisbane trip, she was weirdly hard to reach. Usually she'd at least FaceTime once from the hotel. This time, I got a couple of short texts, all very generic. "Busy day, call you tomorrow." "Dinner with the team. It's late, love you." No photos. No little details about the city or the weather or the awful conference coffee she usually ranted about. Just placeholders. When she got back, she was different. Lighter somehow. In a good mood, but also distant. Like her brain was tuned to some frequency I didn't have access to. She hugged me at the airport, smiled, and said she missed me, but when I tried to ask about the trip, she gave me vague answers. "You know," she said, "just meetings and presentations. Nothing exciting." A month later, there was another business trip, this time to Melbourne. Same pattern. Vague on the details, reluctant to tell me which hotel. Lots of, "I'll send you the itinerary later." And then, "Oh, I forgot, but it's just the usual stuff." The night she left for the Melbourne trip, she kissed me at the door and said, "I'll call you when I get in." She didn't. I got a text around 11 p.m. "Sorry, delayed flight, straight to bed. Big day tomorrow." The next morning I woke up to an empty bed and that low-level unease I kept trying to ignore. I went to grab something from her car because I needed the reusable shopping bags, and that's when I saw the folder. One of those branded company ones, half open on the back seat. I picked it up, meaning to toss it on the counter so she wouldn't lose anything. A couple of sheets slid out. I didn't snoop on purpose. I really didn't. I bent down to pick them up and saw the hotel logo first. Then her name. Then the dates. I'll be honest, I didn't even fully process the receipts until later. I just remember my eyes catching on the line that read, accommodation, King Suite, 3 nights. And under that, room service, dinner for 2. Twice. My brain did that thing where it tries to argue with itself. Maybe she ordered a second meal. Maybe a colleague stayed on her couch. Maybe the company books one category for everyone. I was already halfway to the computer before the rationalizations even finished. I Googled the hotel. The room's photos made my stomach twist. That headboard, that view, that same style of lamps I'd seen once in the background of a blurry photo she accidentally sent me with a whoops wrong person LOL caption. By the time she came home from work that day, I had spiraled from this is probably nothing to she is definitely cheating on me to I'm overreacting and back again about 12 times. I tried to talk myself out of it right up until the moment she walked through the door, saw the receipts, and her face did that thing where all the blood leaves and you can see the lie forming behind the eyes. She sat down slowly across from me, like she was approaching a wild animal. Okay, she said, and her voice wobbled. I can see how this looks. Please don't insult me. I said, just tell me who he is. She stared at the receipts, jaw clenched, then looked up at me with tears already forming. It's just a colleague, she said. We needed to work late. The company covered the extra nights. I slid my phone across to her. I'd taken photos of the receipts, zoomed in on the dinner for 2 line, on the minibar charges, the extra guest cleaning fee. Stop, I said. It's obviously not just work. She started crying, full on now, shoulders shaking. I swear, she said, it wasn't like that. I asked her point blank, are you sleeping with someone you work with? She looked at me for a long time, and in that silence I knew. Even before she opened her mouth, I knew. I didn't plan it, she said, which is apparently cheater code for yes. The messy part is, I didn't explode. I didn't throw anything or scream. I just sat there feeling like someone had taken a knife to the picture of the life I thought we had and shredded it in front of me. How long? I asked. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. A few months, she whispered. It started after Brisbane. I remember staring at the receipts again, trying to do math through the pounding in my skull. And before that? I asked. What was it online only? Her head snapped up. What? You said, it started after Brisbane. He didn't appear out of nowhere. You've been attached to your phone for half a year. Who were you talking to? She looked completely cornered then. It was just messages, she said weakly. We didn't do anything at first. It was just flirting. Talking. Can I see them? I asked. She hesitated, and that was answer enough. When she went to the bathroom a few minutes later, I did something I'd never done in 5 years. I opened her laptop and checked her browser. Her Instagram DMs were already logged in. So was her work chat app in another tab. And there it was, a string of late-night messages with the same name as the guy she once mentioned in passing as my super charismatic coworker, the one who always closes deals. I skimmed enough to get the picture, bragging about their chemistry on trips, complaining about having to sneak around. Half-coded messages about can't wait to see you again in Melbourne. Nothing graphically sexual, because they weren't idiots, but nobody talks to their coworker like that if it's just work. I remember one line specifically because it hit me harder than all the others. She'd written, sometimes I feel more myself with you than I do at home. When she came back from the bathroom, eyes puffy, I was sitting there with the laptop open. How long have you been feeling more yourself with him? I asked. She crumpled then, like her legs couldn't hold her up anymore. I'm so sorry, she said. I don't know what's wrong with me. I never meant to hurt you. That's the thing, I said. You did mean to. Not in some cartoon villain way, but every time you chose to keep this going, you chose to hurt me. You just didn't want to look at it. The rest of that night is kind of a blur. She tried the usual things, saying she'd cut him off, that she'd switch teams, that it didn't mean anything, and she still loved me. I just kept seeing that hotel room in my head, her choosing to walk into it. Eventually, I told her to pack a bag and go stay with a friend for a while. She cried, begged to sleep on the couch, said she didn't want me to make any rash decisions. I laughed in her face at that. You've been making decisions for months, I said. I'm just responding to them. The next morning, she was gone. Her side of the closet looked like a retail store after a clearance sale. Hangers twisted, gaps where her favorite dresses used to be. Her mug was still in the sink, though. Her shampoo still in the shower. That stupid houseplant still dying quietly on the windowsill. Our life was still here, just minus the person I thought shared it with me. Over the next week, the story got uglier. I called in sick to work partly because I couldn't function and partly because I didn't want to risk running into anyone from her company. One of my friends, who works in a similar industry, texted me a screenshot from some private group chat where people were gossiping about the sales manager and her travel buddy. Apparently, it wasn't as secret as she thought. She kept texting me. Long paragraphs full of apologies and explanations and half-therapy phrases like, I was craving validation, and I lost myself and made horrible choices. She said she'd ended it with him, that she'd confessed everything to HR, that she might lose her job. I wish I could say that made me feel better, but it didn't. It just made me feel tired. After about 2 weeks, she asked if we could meet in person. I don't really know why I agreed. Maybe I wanted to see if there was any part of what we had that was salvageable. Maybe I just wanted her to see my face when I told her it was over. We met at a cafe we used to go to on Sunday mornings. She looked smaller somehow, like the guilt had shrunk her. No makeup, hair tied back, fidgeting with her sleeve. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said as soon as she sat down. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to explain. You've already explained, I said. You liked the attention, it got out of hand. You crossed the line and then kept crossing it. What else is there? She swallowed hard. I think I fell into this because I didn't know how to say I wasn't happy, she said. Not with you as a person. You've always been good to me, but in myself. Work made me feel powerful. He made me feel wanted. I felt alive. And at home? I asked. She looked down. At home I felt boring. Stuck. Like I was failing at the whole adult life thing. I let that sit for a minute. You could have told me that, I said. I know, she whispered. I was scared you'd think it was your fault, or that you'd leave. So instead, you guaranteed both, I said. She started crying again, quietly. I don't expect anything from you, she said. I just wanted you to know I regret it. Every day? If I lose you and my job and my reputation, I deserve it. But I never lied about loving you. That was the part that made me angriest, weirdly. You can't claim love as a separate thing, I said. Love isn't this pure bubble over here while your choices are over there. If you loved me, you had a million chances to stop. She nodded, tears dripping onto the table. You're right, she said. We sat there in silence for a while. People around us ordered coffee, laughed, lived their lives. I stared at the little sugar packets and thought about all the mundane moments I'd once imagined having with her. Arguing about curtains, complaining about noisy neighbors, getting a dog together. None of those fantasies had included hotel receipts and leaked chat logs. Eventually, I said, I'm not coming back from this. I'm not built that way. She nodded again, like she'd already expected that answer and was just letting it land. I know, she said. I just needed to hear you say it. We left the cafe separately. She didn't try to hug me. I appreciated that, bizarrely. That was a year ago. Since then, I've moved apartments. I got rid of the plant, finally. Bought new plates because the old ones felt contaminated by all the dinners I'd cooked while she was working late. I started therapy because it turned out my brain had a lot to say about trust and self-worth and why I ignored my gut for so long. I haven't dated seriously yet, partly because I don't want to drag someone into my half-healed mess, partly because I'm still figuring out how to trust my own judgment again. Every time someone mentions a business trip or pulls their phone out at the dinner table and smiles at a notification, a tiny part of me flinches. I don't think that's permanent, but it's real right now. Sometimes I still think about her. Not in a I want her back way, more like when you run your tongue over a scar and remember how you got it. I wonder if she ever really loved me the way I loved her, or if I was just a safe harbor while she chased storms. Here's what I've learned, though. Hotel receipts and chat logs and we're just really close coworkers are symptoms, not causes. The real betrayal started long before she booked that king suite. It started when she chose to take conversations she should have had with me and hand them to someone else instead. She swore it was all work. The receipt said otherwise. And as much as it hurt to find out, I'd rather live with the truth than keep sleeping next to a lie.